Hello everyone. Today we discuss the first topic of general pathology, that is cell injury and cellular adaptation. Pathology is the scientific study of structure and function of the body in the diseases, and there are various sections in the pathology and terminology in the pathology which are related to the cell injury and cellular adaptation. All of you know that the cell is the very basic or the smallest unit of any tissue or the organ. And any change that occur in the cell will reflect in the function and structure and integrity of the various tissue and the organ. So if you want to learn any organ, you have to learn that particular tissue and you have to learn the basic unit of that particular tissue, that is cell. This theory, cell theory, is given that all living things are made up of cells, is given by Theodor Schwann and Matthew Schweber. And 50 years later, the Rudolf Virchow found out the dictum that all cells come from the cells. All living things are made up of cells. Smallest living unit structure and the function of all organisms is the cell. All cells arise from the pre-existing cells, that is its mother cell. This is a normal structure of cell. You can see the various organelles of the cells: microvilli, mitochondria, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, rough endoplasmic reticulum, ribosomes, nucleus, nucleolus, nucleus, then Golgi apparatus, secretory granules. So these are the basic units of cell which comprise the made up of the make the cell environment. The main two components, cell membrane and the cell inside the cell is the cell's organelles. So anything wrong with the cell membrane or cell organelles will be reflect in the function of that particular cell. And each and every component, for example, this Golgi apparatus, the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, cytoskeleton, mitochondria, nucleus, everybody is having a specified or the important function. Now, cell structure. Under normal conditions, cells are dynamic structure which exist in the fluid environment. The cell membrane protects the cells, and the cytoplasm is a thick viscous fluid that is filled and give the shape to the cells. And the organelles are the structure that perform the specific function of the cell, which we see in that particular diagram. Now, first of all, the cell. Because integrity of the cell is very important for the dynamic function of the cell. So whenever, and it is also decide the whether injury will be reversible or irreversible depending on the integrity of the cell membrane function. Electron microscopically, if you see the cell membrane is a thickness with a 7.5 nanometer, which is also known as a unit membrane, and it has a 2 electron dense layer with a which separated by a 1 electrolucent layer, so total 3 layers. And biochemically, it is composed of mixture of lipids, proteins, and carbohydrates. These are the complex things. And cell membrane perform the important function. First of all, selective permeability. It allows some very selective things to come inside the cell, and also throw back the something from the inside the cytoplasm. It also function as a agent representing site, also for the cell receptor for recognition and the communications. And second important thing after the cell membrane is the nucleus. The nucleus consists of outer membrane enclosing nuclear chromatin and nucleoli, and nuclear membrane is consist of again 2 layers. The outer layer studded with the ribosomes, and it is continuous with the endoplasmic reticulum. And the nuclear chromatin. First is the nuclear membrane and second is the nuclear chromatin, which is the main substance composed of 23 pair of chromosomes, and chromosomes are again composed of 3 components: 20% DNA, 10% RNA, and 70% nuclear protein that include basic, acidic, and nuclear proteins. So remember, nucleus, 2 component important: nuclear membrane and nuclear chromatin, because all of these control the movement of the cell or the function of the cell. This is the figure of nucleus. You can see outer covering, They are attached with the ribosomes here, and you can see the nuclear pore. Again, you can see the nuclear pore. It is same. It is also known as pores, and double membrane. You can see this is an electron microscopic figure on the downside. You can see the pores. And the important things in the nucleus is the DNA, which is the hereditary material, and also contain chromosomes, which are composed of DNA, proteins, and it formed for the cell divisions. And there is a chromatin. Inside the nucleus, there is a nucleolus. And most of the cells have one or more rounded bodies, and they are called as a nucleoli. And they are the site for direction of the synthesis of ribosomal RNA. And nucleolus is composed of granules and fibrils, which represent the newly synthesized ribosomal RNA. So you can see the ultrastructure of nucleolus. This is a nucleolus, nucleus, and this is a nuclear membrane. So nucleolus is inside a nucleus rounded structure. It can be 2 or 3 or it can be 1. Now come to the cytoplasm, which is a thick viscous fluid inside the cell. You can see on this figure endoplasmic reticulum, plasma membrane, nucleus, and it is a mitochondria. So they are floating inside the thick viscous fluid. These are the microtubules, microfilaments, intermediate filaments. So it is a gel-like ground substance in which the organelles is suspended. Organelles are site for major enzymatic activity, and main component of the cytoplasm, cytoskeleton, mitochondria, ribosomes, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, and microbodies. You can again see the three-dimensional structure of the cell. This is the nucleus. You can see the nuclear core, nuclear envelope. This is nucleolus. Attached to nuclear membrane is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. You can see the ribosome attached to that. This is cytoplasm. These are the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. These are the microtubules. These are the centrioles. This is the plasma membrane outside the covering of the cell. These are the cilia on the surface of the plasma membrane. These are the microfilaments. These are smooth endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, then lysosomes, and these are the free ribosomes inside the cytoplasm. So this is the ultrastructure of the cell. Each and every organelle have a specific function. Now, as I told you that the cell cytoskeleton is very important because it gives the stability to the cell. It maintains the cell shape and its integrity. It is made up of cytoskeleton made up of 3 fibers: microfilaments, microtubules, and intermediate filament. And it gives I told you that it gives a mechanical support in which the organelle will be suspended. Now, first the major organelles of the cell is the mitochondria. They are the oval structure enveloped by the 2 layers of membrane. It is also known as the kitchen of the cell because it forms the main energy for the cellular function. In this membrane, mitochondrial membrane, there is an outer smooth and inner folded membrane. They are the numerous in the metabolically active cell. Whenever cell is active, the number of mitochondria is more. And the inner membrane contains the lollipop-like structure, which stores the ATP, which is produced by the fat, protein, and carbohydrate metabolism. And it also possesses the DNA and ribosomes. So it is the mitochondria. I told you it is 2 layer, outer smooth, and inside the layer is folded, in which the ATP is stored, and it's having its own DNA. And the main energy it will derived from the glucose and fatty acid, and for that, and it release the energy. So it is the function of the mitochondria is cellular respiration. Now, ribosomes, they are spherical particles contain 80 to 85% of the cells of the RNA, and it present in two forms, free and bound forms. As you see in the endoplasmic reticulum, some of the ribosomes are bound to that, so it makes their endoplasmic reticulum as a rough endoplasmic reticulum. They are large as a monomeric units and polyribosomes, and they are the protein synthesizing units. Endoplasmic reticulum, two types, rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. It is a network of interconnected membranes. In the rough endoplasmic reticulum, you can find a ribosome attached to the surface. You can see the ribosome attached to the surface. And they can modify the proteins from the ribosomes. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum, there is no attached ribosomes in smooth endoplasmic reticulum and has enzymes that metabolize the drugs, steroids, cholesterols, and carbohydrates. And it also role in the muscle contraction. So again, you can see this is smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and you can see this is a rough endoplasmic reticulum. Main function is the protein synthesis. Golgi apparatus. It appears as a vesicle, sac, or lamellae. You can see this type of structure. It is synthesizes the carbohydrates and complex proteins, and also responsible for the packaging of the proteins, which synthesize in the ribosomes. And it releases small vesicles containing the protein, and it can be released from the cell afterwards. So main function of the Golgi apparatus is molecules comes in the vesicles, vesicle fuse with the Golgi membranes, and molecules may modified by the Golgi. The molecule pinched off from the separate vesicles, and vesicles leave the Golgi apparatus, and these vesicles may combine with the plasma membrane and secretes the content outside the cell. So this is the whole process. You can see protein synthesized, it goes to the Golgi apparatus, it bound in the vesicles, and vesicles goes out of the cell by exocytosis. Now lysosomes, they contain the powerful digestive enzymes. They are the three forms of ribosomes: primary ribosomes, secondary ribosomes, and residual bodies. Now, as we discussed about all the arguments, whenever the noxious stimuli is there or stress is there, the cell will respond to that particular stimuli or the stress. Now, all of you know that normal cell is confined to a very narrow range of function and structure by its state of the metabolism, differentiation, and specialization. And it remains in the harmony with its neighboring cell and with the form of the availability of the metabolic structures, substitutes. So, whenever there is increased stress, stimuli, or increased demand, it will be give a response to that particular environment. So, it is also known as adaptation. So, adaptation are the reversible functions and structural response to more severe physiological stress and some pathological stimuli, during which new but not the altered steady states are achieved, and that allow the cell to survive and continue its function. So here the cell will not alter its basic or the mother nature. This is a diagrammatic representation of the this our discussion. Normal cell, if there is stress or increased demand, there is adaptation. But if the cell will not survive of the adaptation, it will undergo the cell injury and ultimately cell death. And if the injury stimulus is so much harsh that it don't go adaptation, it directly undergo cell injury and it will undergo cell death. So there can be a triage whenever there is a noxious stimuli or the stress is there. So there are various cell responses to the injury. Whenever there is a physiological stimuli or there is cellular adaptations, there are various types of adaptation. We will discuss it out little while. Whenever there is increased demand, increased trophic stimulation, there can be a hypoplasia or there can be a hypertrophy. Whenever there is a decrease in the nutrition or the stimulation or the supply is deprived of, there can be a atrophy. Whenever there is an oxygen supply is deprived, when there is chemical injury or there is microbial infection is there, then can be a cellular injury. If it is acute and transient, it is an acute reversible injury and it is mainly manifested by cellular swelling and fatty change. But if the injury is progressive, severe, including the DNA damage, it can be an irreversible injury and that can be a cell death which can be in the form of necrosis and apoptosis. So these are the cellular injury and cellular adaptation and cellular injury. Whenever there is a metabolic alteration, genetic or acquired, there can be intracellular accumulation or there can be a calcification intracellular. It is again an adaptive response. And when this injury is over a long lifespan, there can be a cellular aging which is reflected into the cellular environment. This is again a diagrammatic representation of the adaptation, reversible injury and cell death. Example is given by normal myocyte. If the adaptation is in the form of increased load, you can see there is a hypertrophy. You can see here the increase in the size of the heart. The musculature is increased. This is the normal. If there is a cell injury, initially there is a reversible injury. You can see a cellular swelling and the fatty change. And if it persists for a longer time, there can be a cell death and it can be reflected in the form of ischemic heart disease. You can see a ischemic zone here in the myocardium. This is the normal myocardium, this is the ischemic zone or the cell death. Now we discuss the cellular adaptation in this lecture. We already discussed about 3 or 4 types of adaptation: hypertrophy, hyperplasia, atrophy, and metaplasia, and lastly dysplasia. First of all, we discuss the hypertrophy. Hypertrophy refers to an increase in the size of cells resulting in an increase in the size of organ. It can be physiological or pathological, and it is caused by increased functional demand or by stimulation by hormone and growth factor. The most common stimulus for hypertrophy of muscle is increased workload, for example in the heart, and it is usually in the heart because of the chronic hemodynamic overload result from the either hypertension or faulty valve. And hypertrophy of the smooth muscle may lead to stenosis, fracture, or cardiac ectasia. Second is the compensatory hypertrophy, for example in the contralateral organ. Example, when you remove one kidney, this other kidney will show a contralateral hypertrophy. So this is the physiology of hypertrophy. Example is the uterus during pregnancy. This is the normal smooth muscle. These are the hypertrophied smooth muscle. Now what is the mechanism of hypertrophy? It results from the increased production of the cellular proteins, and hypertrophy can be induced by the linked action of the mechanical sensor, growth factor, and vasoactive agents. The two main biochemical pathways involved in the muscle hypertrophy seems to be phosphoramidite 3 kinase or the AKT pathway, which is considered to be most important in the physiological exercise-induced hypertrophy, and signaling downstream of G protein coupled receptors. So two pathways, phosphoinositide 3 kinase and G protein coupled receptor, the signaling downstream of the G protein coupled receptor pathway. This is the mechanism of hypertrophy. And hypertrophy usually refers to an increase in the size of cell or the tissue Sometimes subcellular organelles may undergo selective hypertrophy. So whole cell is not undergo hypertrophy, but the organelles undergo hypertrophy. Example, if the individual is treated with drugs like barbiturates, it shows hypertrophy of smooth endoplasmic reticulum in the hepatocyte, which is an adaptive response. And over time, patient respond less to the drugs because of this adaptation. It is also known as the drug tolerance. Now, second type of adaptive response is hyperplasia. It is an increase in the number of cells in an organ or tissue, usually resulting in increased mass of the organ or the tissue. There can be a physiological hyperplasia or pathological hyperplasia. Physiological hyperplasia is of two types, hormonal and compensatory hyperplasia. Hormonal hyperplasia is well illustrated by the proliferation of the glandular epithelium of the female breast at puberty and during pregnancy. And compensatory hyperplasia is seen in liver. When the individual donates one of the lot of the liver for transplantation, the remaining cell proliferate and the organ soon grow back to terminal size. And one of the other example is the regeneration of epidermis after the skin abrasion. Following nephrectomy, the one side of hyperplasia of the contralateral kidney you can also see. So the all is the physiological hyperplasia, now pathological hyperplasia, which is caused by the excess of the hormone or growth factor acting on the target cell. Example of pathological hyperplasia is the endometrial hyperplasia, prostatic hyperplasia, that is the benign prostatic hyperplasia, and papillomas warts, skin warts. These are the example of pathological hyperplasia. So hyperplasia is the pathological hyperplasia constituted fertile soil in which the cancerous proliferation eventually rise. So it should be dealt with a proportion because it is a precancerous condition. Now what is the mechanism of hyperplasia? Hyperplasia is a result of growth factor driving proliferation of mature cell and in some cases increased output of new cell from the tissue stem cell. For instance, after partial hepatectomy, growth factors are produced in the liver that engage receptor on the surviving cell and activate the signaling pathway that stimulates the cell proliferation. Now, third type of adaptation is the atrophy. Atrophy is a reduce in the size or organ of the cell, resulting from the decrease in the cell size or the number. Physiological atrophy is common in the normal development, such as neurocognitive or the thyroid development. Pathological atrophy can be local or generalized. So you can see that in the hyperplasia, the number of cell increased. In the hypertrophy, the size of the cell increased. In the atrophy, the size or the number of cells both have decreased. Now, what are the common causes for pathological atrophy? One is a decreased blood flow. For example, when you wrap a that fracture, when you got a fracture and if your limb is immobile, it will be little bit atrophied because of the decreased workload. Second is the loss of innervation when the nerve supply is cut from the particular part. Third is the diminished blood supply. Fourth one is the inadequate nutrition. Five one is the loss of endocrine stimulation. And sixth is the pressure atrophy. Now what is the mechanism of atrophy? Atrophy results from the decreased protein synthesis and increased protein degradation inside the cell. The nutrition deficiency and disuse may activate the ubiquitin ligase, which attach a small peptide ubiquitin to cellular proteins and target this protein for degradation in the proteosomes. So atrophy is also accompanied by increased autophagy, which resulting in the number of autophagic vacuoles. And autophagy is a process in which the starved cells eats its own component and in attempt to find nutrition and for the survival. So the vacuoles ultimately fuse with the lysosomes and their content are digested by the lysosomal enzyme. So ubiquitin ligases and autophagy, these are the two important mechanisms which ultimately leads to atrophy. Now, metaplasia is again one of the type of adaptation. It is a reversible change of one type of epithelium or mesenchymal cell to another type of epithelium or mesenchymal cell, usually occur in response to abnormal stimuli, often revert back to the normal under irreversible stimuli. It is very important. If the stimulus persists for a long time, it will ultimately transform into the cancer. So either it can go back to the normal, and if it persists, it will lead to the cancer. Most common type of metaplasia is columnar to squamous and usually occur in response to chronic infection. Most common in the respiratory tract, you can see a normal basement membrane, normal columnar epithelium. These are the reserve cell which already persist, and this is a cellular adaptation in form of squamous metaplasia in response to noxious stimuli. Again, normal columnar, and this is the squamous epithelium. Now, what is the mechanism of metaplasia? Metaplasia does not result from a change in the phenotype of an already differentiated cell. Instead, it is a result of a reprogramming of a stem cell that are known to exist in the normal tissue. That I already showed that the reserve cells are there in that corner epithelium. So, in response to injury, they will proliferate in case of respiratory epithelium. The differentiation of the stem cell to a particular lineage is brought about by the signals generated by the cytokines, growth factor, and extracellular matrix component in the cell environment. Now, these are the examples of squamous metaplasia. In chronic smoker, the counters show the squamous metaplasia. In case of old age and prolapse, the uterine endocervical epithelium show the squamous metaplasia. In case of chronic polycystitis and polymyositis, the gallbladders show the epithelial metaplasia. Chronic prostatitis and estrogen will lead to prostatic squamous metaplasia. Chronic infection and stone leads to renal failure and urinary bladder metaplasia. And vitamin A deficiency also known to cause the squamous metaplasia. This is usual form. Sometimes what happens, the squamous is converted into the columnar. Most common example is the Barrett esophagus, in which occur because of the gastroesophageal reflex, in which the squamous is converted into the columnar. Another example is chronic bronchitis and intestinal metaplasia in the healed chronic gastric ulcer. So these are the examples of metaplasia. Now there can be a mesenchymal metaplasia. These are squamous and columnar was the example of epithelial metaplasia. Mesenchymal metaplasia is again of two types: osseous metaplasia and cartilaginous metaplasia. Osseous metaplasia is the formation of bone in fibrous tissue, cartilage, and myxoid tissue. Examples are arterial wall in the old age, in soft tissue, in mycetes ossificans, in scar of chronic inflammation, and in fibrostoma of tumor. An example of cartilaginous metaplasia is in healing of fractures with undue mobility. Lastly, the dysplasia, which is also known as a precancerous condition. Definition is it's a disordered cellular development after accompanied with a metaplasia and hyperplasia. Often occur in the epithelial cell and characterized by the cellular proliferation and cytological changes. What are that? So dysplasia is manifested or it is represented by hyperplasia, disorderly arrangement of cells, pleomorphism, high MC ratio, nuclear hyperchromatism, and increased mitotic activity. So these all are the precancerous features. That's why the dysplastic features are always filled with portions. It may undergo neoplasia. So these are from the hyperplasia, hypertrophy, atrophy, metaplasia, and dysplasia are the cellular adaptive response, and by which cell will try to compensate the stress or the noxious stimuli. In the Next lecture we will discuss the cell injury, which is of two types: reversible injury and irreversible injury. Thank you.